proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets flicker out, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
We want to thank Mars, who's a 9th grader here at Thunder Ridge High School. She'll be singing the national anthem at our football game tomorrow, and also she's on iTunes, so she's a rock star. Okay. I think it's such a good idea that we're meeting as teams today, because it just brings that solidarity, and I believe it really takes a full team to teach a child. And on Monday, you're gonna have it happen like this. We've got the custodian, the principal, the lunch ladies are getting lunch ready, so we're about to begin. Okay, as of today, we have 13,000, a little over 13,000 students, and that is just amazing. They're going to be close to 1,400 right here at Thunder Ridge. And you can kind of look at where we've come since '01 all the way to this year, right here, 13,050. It's just amazing. I don't know where these homes are coming from, but they keep coming. And I don't know what our future growth is going to be, but you've seen the homes, right? And so I like to stay away from predictions like Yogi Berra. I stay away from predictions, especially the ones about the future. Rockwell Holmes came and presented to the school board in April, and he did a study with all the builders in the area. And there are 2,595 at that time homes that were either started or plotted and being approved by the county. And so if there's 2.5 children in a home, which we're not sure, we're going to have over 6,000 students here in 5 years. Half of those will be here in 3 years. So we're not finished building in this district. Unbelievable. 425 new teachers, new employees in the district this year. We've never had that many before that we've had to hire right off the bat. I want you to see that there's no administrators. Isn't that wonderful that your administrators love their jobs and they want to be here? Please give them a hand. They come in and talk to me all the time about how they love their teachers. They just love their teachers. Certified 113, classified 217, seasonal 26, substitute 69. I think we're the 4th largest employer in this area. First year teachers out of that, 79. Would you stand up if you're a first year teacher? Let's see how many you have. Congratulations. It's not easy to be a teacher in this district. There's a lot of competition. Well, there's one last year superintendent, and that's me. This will be my last year, many of you have heard, but I want to thank the school board so much for helping me to be able to retire. I have 15 years in Utah, and so my 21st year in Idaho. But it's going to be a sad year, but I'm going to have fun. You know, I'm going to be in your classrooms, visiting, on the school buses. I'm just going to have a blast this year, just to remember why I got into education. Because the more I moved up in administration, the farther removed I was from kids. So when I come into your area, whether it's your classroom or your office, don't be afraid. Okay, don't be afraid. Don't feel the imposter syndrome. Do you know what the imposter syndrome is? Someday, someone's going to find out that I'm really not a superintendent. I'm an imposter. Been a fake. Do you ever feel that way when your principal walks in or your supervisor walks in? Think, oh, but don't worry. Don't worry. I am no threat to anyone. We have one announcement to make, and that is our supplemental levy. With all this growth, with the opening of this new school, our $5.8 million supplemental levy election will be next Tuesday. We usually do it later in the year, but at the beginning of the school year, at the beginning of a calendar year, but in March we're most likely going to have to bond for another school. And so we didn't want to be doing them both together. So Tuesday, make sure you get everyone you know that lives in our area to get out and vote. So just get them out to vote. We're going to be sending, I know you probably love it, but we're going to be sending flyers home with our K through 6th graders on Monday, first day of school. So hopefully we'll be doing texting and calling, and we just need to get people out to vote, because usually on a supplemental levy, the vote turnout's pretty low. I want to introduce our school board. Let's see who we have there today. Greg Calder, not just stand so everyone can see it. Amy Landers, Chad Dance, and Paul Jenkins. Paul Jenkins is our chair. It's a very, very tough job, and if it wasn't for the pay, I don't think they'd do it. Paul is going to share some words with us.
New teachers, where are you? Stand up again. Just a second. Okay, look where they are. If they were in your school, make sure they don't eat lunch alone. Thank you. I have a good friend that's he was an F-35 pilot in the Navy. By the way, Navy pilots are the best pilots because they have to learn how to land on something that's going up and down and sideways. It's very difficult. He's now one of the lead pilots for Delta Airline, and he flies an Airbus. The Airbus will hold between 350 and 550 people on board, depending on how it's configured. And he gets the cherry routes. He goes where he wants to go. He flies to Rome or Paris or Moscow. He gets the wonderful routes. On his aircraft, there are 22 wheels. And the tires are filled with nitrogen because the heat and the pressure is so intense that if it were not nitrogen, if it were just regular air, they would explode. I have no idea how many ball bearings there are in all of those wheels, but there are many. It takes 1 mile of runway for him to take off in that aircraft. And it takes 2 miles to land it. When he's landing, he's coming in at about 150 knots. That's 165 miles an hour. And because of the configuration, it's very difficult to even see the runway. Now imagine you're on board this aircraft. And as he is coming in, he's just ready to touch down. 150 miles an hour. That's twice the speed of what we can go legally on a freeway. It's just an inch above the ground. I want you to remember where Captain Stratton is right now. Just hold it in your mind where he is. He's ready to land. In the mountains, we mine ore, and it's pig iron. It's an iron ore, and if you look at the ground, it's kind of red, rusty red. Y'all seen that in the mountains? They take the pig iron and they put it in a crucible. And you've all seen the pictures of the crucibles as they heat that ore up to 2400, 2600 degrees, and that separates the mineral from the dross. And then they pour it out, and through a refining process, they add nickel, they add chromium, they add molybdenum, which is one of the minerals that we mine in our state. And with refining, which includes cold shocking the material, they get the metal hot and then they dip it in cold, and it tends to rearrange the ions. And then they mill that into a ball bearing. A ball bearing is a really unique piece of material. It's polished, and you can literally see your own reflection in it. If you take a hammer and you set that ball bearing on an anvil, and you hit it with a hammer, the hammer will bounce off. It's reflected off. And it will leave a divot in the anvil. But the ball bearing will come away unscathed. It takes a great deal of time and energy and effort to refine a ball bearing. As administrators, as teachers, as persons who make sure that their schools are safe and clean and ready every day, as personnel who take care of the food and all of the different needs of the students, every person involved is part of the educational team. There is no one who is not necessary. Think of that bearing. If you take one bearing out of that aircraft, what happens to that wheel? It ceases to function. Our jobs are to refine the raw ore. Build it so that we have students who are prepared for the future. Prepare them so that they're ready for the world. Okay, now let's go back to Captain Stratton. And he's just landing that aircraft. Now, if that ball bearing were still made out of pig iron, it would seize up under the heat, and the plane would literally flip over and over and over and over. And all of you as passengers would be lost. But because he knows the care and the craftsmanship that has gone into building these ball bearings, that he'll be making safe landings. It's our job to make sure we prepare students who are going to help have safe landings. I'm so proud of you guys as educators. It's just wonderful. You know, you hold the future of the world in your hands. Thank you for everything that you do. A sincere thank you, and have the best year ever.
Thank you, Paul. Boy, he's really intense, isn't he? Great job. Well, our mission statement student success by design, it just doesn't happen by accident. And our vision statement, I really love our vision statement, because that's what we're trying to teach all of our students. And there's 16 words there, and I was only responsible for 3. The last one, to share your talents fearlessly. So many times, how many times have you regretted, oh, I should have, and oh, I didn't say that, and I should. I hate that. So share your talents fearlessly. Don't be afraid to do it, because when you do it, others do it. You'll have followers, you'll have students, and then they'll stand up and they'll share their talents and skills. I want to show you an example of one such person.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out, you ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut, and it's not 2 nuts. 3 is a crowd, and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers, because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. But over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit, but you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
I wouldn't recommend dancing with your shoe off in front of your class on Monday, okay? But when you share your talents fearlessly, people will join you if it's something good. But other times, it's not good to be a follower.
The gentleman in the elevator now is a candidate star. These folks who are entering, the man with a white shirt, the lady with a trench coat, and subsequently one other member of our staff, will face the rear. And you'll see how this man in the trench coat tries to maintain his individuality, but little by little, he looks at his watch, but he's really making an excuse for turning just a little bit more to the wall. Now we'll try it once again. Here's the candid subject. Here comes the candid kind of staff, 3 of them at least. And this man has apparently been in groups before. Now, here's a fella with his hat on in the elevator. First he makes a full turn to the rear and Charlie closes the door. A moment later, we'll open the door, everybody's changed positions. Now we'll see if we can use group pressure for some good. Now, in a moment, on Charlie's signal, everybody turns forward. There, notice, they take off their hats. And now, do you think we could reverse the procedure? Watch.
That's hilarious. You know, there was a pitcher in 1966 that was on the Minnesota Twins. His name's Jim Catt. That's him right there. He's a great pitcher. And then there was a coach, Johnny Sain, that coached for the Detroit Tigers. He was a pitching coach. And he had won 3 World Series rings because he was such a good pitching coach. And when the spring training started, Jim was called in to the office of his pitching coach. And his pitching coach asked him, what are your 4 best pitches? Or what are your 4 favorite pitches? What are the 4 pitches that you throw? And he said, well, got the fastball, got my curve, got my slider, and I got my changeup. Which one's your favorite one? The fastball. Okay, I want you to throw that all the time. Now, Jim had thought, well, I was going to work on my slider and changeup. And if I could get good at those 2 pitches, then I'll win more games. But Johnny Sain said, no. Your best pitch is your fastball. That's your strength. I want you to throw that 80 to 90% of the time in practice, in all the games. Every time you throw, work on hitting spots that throw your fastball, and you'll win more games. Well, he wasn't quite sure, but he did it. The whole season long, he threw his fastball 80 to 90% of the time. Well, in 1966, Jim Catt led the league in wins. He had 25 wins, and then he won American League Pitcher of the Year. So what does that teach us? You know, we all have talents. All of you do. You would not be here if you didn't have talents. But what do you do better than anything else? What's that talent that comes so easy for you that other people struggle with? Because you've been blessed. You've been blessed with a talent, an attribute, a characteristic, but something that makes you so successful in this business. What is it? We'll call it your superpower. What if this year you double down on your superpower? Just like Jim did. To see what happens. Rather than we try to be great at a lot of things, but end up being good, mediocre, at everything. Focus on that strength that got you where you're at now. Now, there's different ones. I think of mine, I think relationships with people, I'm pretty good. I'm definitely not the smartest person in this room, so I had to have something. I think I wasn't afraid of anything. I was like that shirtless nut. I'm not afraid to do it. I'll do it, and I don't care if I fail, because that's how you get better. And I don't want any of you to be afraid of failing. Try something. Your principles are all behind it. They want you to try innovative things, and most of the time they'll work. What I want you to do is, of all the great things that you do, think right now of what your superpower is. And then I'm going to have you turn and tell your neighbor. And your neighbor's going to either confirm it, validate it, or say, are you kidding me? So what is your superpower? What is it that you can take that's your best, that you can utilize this year 80 to 90% of the time to see what happens. Tell your neighbor. Okay. We all have superpowers, but this is how I look at all of you. I could not do what you do. I could not. I've been invited into classrooms to read. Oh my gosh. Have you ever read to a kindergarten class? Oh my gosh. Don't ask me questions. It's over. It's over. But this is you. And in the eyes of your students, this is you. Okay? So I want you to really think about your superpower and say, you know what? Not only am I going to get the grades at, I'm going to help students to have that too. To put that into their repertoire of skills. Oops. So I thought about, this is my last year. And 37, this is 38th year. And so I was thinking, I've done this presentation, I've made a presentation to all of you. This is my 18th time. And it's just fun. This is fun. But I thought, what can I do? It's my last one. And Margie, she's so smart. She says, you know, why don't you go back over the things that you've taught? Some of the stuff, now it's crap. But other things are really good. Why don't you go look and see what really hit home to you? What things are you still believing in? It's like trying something, and if it fails, you don't do it anymore. If it works, it becomes part of you, right? So I did that. I went back, and there were too many. There were so many things that I've shared that I just love. But I put together some of these videos that you've seen before, but I'm not that good at articulating, you can tell. But I'm really good at finding things, you know? And I'm good at finding little videos that says exactly what's in my heart that I can't quite say. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time watching some 2-3 minute videos, and then we're going to talk about them. Because these are the things that I think students need to know. What's the most important thing that we can do by the 3rd grade? Teach our kids how to read. That's so important. So I'm going to go over some things that I think are very important, not just in the classroom academically for those content areas, but for what life lessons, if we can have our students leave and graduate with these skills. Oh my gosh. Because some of them, you'll see, some of them I haven't even mastered yet. So the first thing that I learned is public education is the keystone of our democracy. There's nothing more important than education. Nothing. And we are so blessed to be able to come to work every day and interact with people. There are some people that don't have that opportunity. And not only do you get to interact, you get to make a difference. You get to change a life. You get to become a superhero for someone. Relationships. Trusting relationships is the key to this business. You can't succeed if you don't know how to make trusting relationships. Okay, 3rd grade. There's a correlation between reading at 3rd grade and graduating from high school. If the student's not reading at grade level by 3rd grade, they're 4 times less likely to graduate with their peers. If you add poverty to that, because some of us are in areas that our socioeconomic level isn't the highest, you add poverty to that, it's 13 times less likely a student's going to be able to read. So the most important thing is what you do in this room is teach reading. It's critical. You're helping them to make it to graduation. And why it's not good to not graduate. Nationwide, 80% of all the prisoners are high school dropouts. 80%. We don't want that. We don't want any of our students to come and end up being like this guy right here. Well, as soon as it works.
The thing with me is that I am smart, and I'm self-smarted, basically by myself, basically from nature and smoking drugs and doing different things. I've self-learned myself, and that's the whole difference, I guess, is that I don't need the books or the schooling type things. I just get everything on my own, and because of that, I'm alive right now. I mean, if I read more books or tried to go on to college or things like that, I'd be dead right now, because people say books in college are for to be to make you smarter, but they can also be for to be to get you dead, which is what could happen to me. My brain doesn't get enough oxygen because I don't have the whole thing filled with different stuff. And if it was full, it's only part full, and that's why I'm alive right now. Guys getting here, hey, can you read this book, try to get smarter? I'm like, all right, I'll pretend to read it, but I'm not going to really read it because then my brain will be more full. If I have another heart attack, I'm going to die. So I'll get out of here now and spend time with Lucy and Trinity and get my family going again. Basically, that's all that matters to me. They come and visit me a couple times in jail for the first time ever, which is awesome. Lucy seems to be really digging me and looking really good. I just want to get out of here and see them, exercise a bit, maybe eat better, and try to quit smoking. Well, I'm going to quit smoking cigarettes first, and then, work off the dope or whatever eventually. Although, I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I'll do it. Okay. We don't want that. We don't want that. Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to share some things with you that I think is what's in my heart that I believe we need to have our students leave our education system having a grasp of. And it's not reading, writing, and arithmetic, but it's knowing themselves. Let me get this done.
What makes you itch? What sort of a situation would you like? Let's suppose I do this often in vocational guidance to students. They come to me and say, well, we're getting out of college and we haven't the faintest idea what we want to do. So I always ask the question, what would you like to do if money were no object? How would you really enjoy spending your life? Well, it's so amazing. As a result of our kind of educational system, crowds of students say, well, we'd like to be painters, we'd like to be poets, we'd like to be writers, but as everybody knows, we can't earn any money that way. Or another person says, well, I'd like to live an out-of-doors life and ride horses. I said, you want to teach in a riding school? Let's go through it. What do you want? When we finally got down to something which the individual says he really wants to do, I will say to him, you do that. And forget the money. Because if you say that getting the money is the most important, you will spend your life completely wasting your time. You'll be doing things you don't like doing in order to go on living, that is, to go on doing things you don't like doing, which is stupid. Better to have a short life that is full of what you like doing than a long life spent in a miserable way. And after all, if you do really like what you're doing, it doesn't matter what it is, you can eventually you could eventually become a master of it. The only way to become a master of something is very good at it. And then you'll be able to get a good fee for whatever it is. So don't worry too much. Somebody's interested in everything. Anything you can be interested in, you'll find out. But it's absolutely stupid to spend your time doing things you don't like in order to go on spending things you don't like, doing things you don't like, and to teach your children to follow in the same track. See, what we're doing is we're bringing up children, educating, to live the same sort of lives we're living, in order that they may justify themselves and find satisfaction in life by bringing up their children, to bring up their children to do the same thing. So it's all wretch and no vomit. It never gets there. And so, therefore, it's so important to consider this question. What do I desire?
You know, how many of us fall into that category at times? You know, I didn't know what I was going to do. We say, okay, we got to get kids to know what they're going to do right when they go to college. Heck, I don't think I knew what I was really going to do until I was in my 20s. But we've got to at least try to help them discover what their talents are, what are their superpowers, what makes them happy, what do they love doing, and somehow make that into a goal of, you know what, I think I can do that the rest of my life. And I'm sure there are a lot of teachers, some of us older people in here, I'm sure there's some teachers that are teaching now because of you. It was my 6th grade teacher. It might have been you. Okay, let's look at this one. This is very humbling.
From this distant vantage point, the Earth might not seem of any particular interest. But for us, it's different. Consider again that dot. That's here. That's home. That's us. On it, everyone you love, everyone you know, everyone you ever heard of, every human being who ever was, lived out their lives. The aggregate of our joy and suffering. Thousands of confident religions, ideologies, and economic doctrines. Every hunter and forager, every hero and coward, every creator and destroyer of civilization. Every king and peasant, every young couple in love, every mother and father, hopeful child, inventor and explorer, every teacher of morals, every corrupt politician, every superstar, every supreme leader, every saint and sinner in the history of our species lived there, on a mote of dust, suspended in a sunbeam. The Earth is a very small stage in a vast cosmic arena. Think of the rivers of blood spilled by all those generals and emperors, so that in glory and triumph they could become the momentary masters of a fraction of a dot. Think of the endless cruelties visited by the inhabitants of one corner of this pixel on the scarcely distinguishable inhabitants of some other corner. How frequent their misunderstandings, how eager they are to kill one another, how fervent their hatreds. Our posturings, our imagined self-importance, the delusion that we have some privileged position in the universe, are challenged by this point of pale light. Our planet is a lonely speck in the great enveloping cosmic dark. In our obscurity, in all this vastness, there is no hint that help will come from elsewhere to save us from ourselves. The Earth is the only world known so far to harbor life. There is nowhere else, at least in the near future, to which our species could migrate. Visit? Yes. Settle? Not yet. Like it or not, for the moment, the Earth is where we make our stand. It has been said that astronomy is a humbling and character-building experiment. There is perhaps no better demonstration of the folly of human conceits than this distant image of our tiny world. To me, it underscores our responsibility to deal more kindly with one another and to preserve and cherish the only home we've ever known, the pale blue dot.
So humbling. There was a great leader that walked this earth hundreds of years ago that had a vision and saw something like that. And what did he think? He thought, wow, man is nothing. Something I'd never supposed before. We've got to teach, help them to learn, to put things in perspective of what is important. How many times have we found ourselves getting so riled up over something just, it's not important. How can we teach that? How can we teach kids what is important and what isn't. And then the most important one, we're here to serve. We're here to help people. It's not all about me. How can we get them to cherish relationships and be kinder?
These are roughly 28,835 jelly beans. I counted out 500 of them and used those to weigh the rest. In this pile, there's one jelly bean for each day that the average American will live. You might have more beans in your life, or maybe less, but on average, this is the time we have. Here's a single bean. It's your very first day. A special day, but kind of a rough day on everyone involved. Add 364 more and you have the first year of your life. Now, for a sense of scale, here are your first 15 years, 5,475 days, which brings us to the threshold of adulthood. And at that moment, this is the time that we have left. And this is, on average, what we will do with all that time. We will be asleep for a total of 8,477 days. If we're lucky, some of that time we'll be sleeping next to someone we love. We will be in the process of eating, drinking, or preparing food for 1,635 days. We'll be at work, hopefully doing something satisfying, for the equivalent of 3,202 of those days. 1,099 days will be spent commuting or traveling from one place to another, maybe a little bit more if you live in LA. On average, we will watch television in one form or another for a total of 2,676 days. Household activities like chores and tending to our pets and shopping will take another 1,576 days. And we will care for the needs and well-being of others, our friends and family, for 564 days. We'll spend 671 days bathing, grooming, and doing all other bathroom-related activities. And another 720 days will go to community activities like religious and civic duties, charities, and taking classes. After we remove all those beans, this is what remains. This is the time that we have left. Time for laughing, swimming, making art, going on hikes, text messages, reading, checking Facebook, playing softball, maybe even teaching yourself how to play the guitar. So what are you going to do with this time? How much of it do you think you've already used up? If you only had half of it, what would you do differently? What about half of that? How much time have you already spent worrying instead of doing something that you love? What if you just had one more day? What are you going to do today?
If we could teach kids that how they use their time is really going to be who they become and what they become. And this one is so critical. I know kids think they're bulletproof and they're never gonna, but teach them that we gotta live every day because you really don't know how many jelly beans you have, but they're gonna run out someday. And then you're gonna look and say, what did I accomplish? Whose lives did I bless? What did I do that made a difference? And again, that's why I love this profession because that's what you do. You know, they're not all roses and happy days, but you're making a difference every day. You have that opportunity. I think I only have 2 more.
My goodness, don't you remember when you went first to school? You went to kindergarten. And in kindergarten, the idea was to push along so that you could get into first grade. And then push along so that you could get into second grade, third grade, and so on, going up and up. And then you went to high school, and this was a great transition in life. And now the pressure is being put on. You must get ahead. You must go up the grades and finally be good enough to get to college. And then when you get to college, you're still going step by step, up to the great moment in which you're ready to go out into the world. And then when you get out into this famous world, comes the struggle for success in profession or business. And again, there seems to be a ladder before you, something to which you're reaching all the time. And then, suddenly, when you're about 40 or 45 years old in the middle of life, you wake up one day and say, I've arrived. And by Jove, I feel pretty much the same as I've always felt. In fact, I'm not so sure that I don't feel a little bit cheated. Because you see, you were fooled. You were always living for somewhere where you aren't. And while, as I said, it is of tremendous use for us to be able to look ahead in this way, there is no use planning for a future, which when you get to it and it becomes the present, you won't be there. You'll be living in some other future which hasn't yet arrived. And so in this way, one is never able actually to inherit and enjoy the fruits of one's action. You can't live at all unless you can live fully now.
I'm the most guilty of this one. You know, as I began teaching, and then I decided I wanted to go into administration, high school level, and being a high school principal for many years. And I'd have to be, our school, you're lucky, our high school started at 7:20 in the morning. That was first period for everybody. That wasn't zero period. So I had to get there by 6:45 at the latest. And then all the sports. And the regret, I had 6 kids. And if any of you have kids, just remember to live the day, because before you know it, they're gone. And I think I had missed the childhood of several of my children because of my decisions. And so, live for the day. Enjoy what you're able to do. Sit back when your kids are working in class and go, wow, I created this. Enjoy the day. Why I love education is it's a challenge, especially with all the new stuff. I could not do what you do. I promise you. There's no way I'd fail. I think I'm good at what I do, but I couldn't do what you do. I can't keep up with all the stuff Jason throws at you and you gotta do and stuff. It's terrible. All the testing, what the crap. But in this position, in this education, it's truly making a difference every day. Every day, pick a day. Today, I'm going to make a difference to somebody, and I'm going to realize who it is. I'm going to make it a point. You get to express yourself. Some are better than others. You can tell Paul Jenkins is a thespian. He was pretty good. Okay. And the last one, there's no way that every day is the same in this business. No way. Okay, because I couldn't do what you do, I invited a professional educator, an outstanding teacher. Her name's Rita Pearson. Waco, Texas, been teaching since '72. She's done a lot of things in the classroom, special ed, and administration. And she's going to speak to you right now.
I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologize. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry during shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. I said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class. Because I am the best teacher and you are the best students, they put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise, you just have to strut. And I gave them a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so, I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. 4 years I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion. Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
Wow. How would you like your children in her class? Yeah. How many kids do you think went through her and said, I'm going to be just like her? And the same thing's true with you. You have that opportunity to make that difference. She said everybody needs a champion. You see these roses have been here, and there's champions in this room. And I'm going to thank one of my champions that makes a difference for me. And then that will leave, there's 13 here, so that'll leave 12 roses. And so, remember, fearlessly, okay? Come up, say the person's name and why they're your champion. Why did they make a difference in your life? Okay? Carla Davenport, where are you? This lady. This lady, you don't have to give a speech. She exudes love. I mean, every time I see her, I just feel that. Can you imagine being in her class? And I said kindergarten. That's got to be tough. How many years have you been doing it? 16. So thank you, Carla. Okay. And there's one rule. You have to sacrifice. So if you give a flower, you don't get one. Okay? All up here. Share fearlessly.
Hi, I'm Lane Keller, the principal of Mountain Valley. I've been greatly pleased to work with a lot of teachers over the years. And there's one in my school I want to recognize for certain. Much like you, Chuck, she's going to retire at the end of the year. Which really makes me sad because students need to see that smile every day. She'll smile no matter what is going on. She'll love that child even if it's the biggest stinker in the school. And she will take under wing and that child will be so much better. Pat Zerani, come down and get a rose, please.
Don't be shy. Boy, secondary, they were gone in a second.
My champion, I'm Cindy Listener. I've been now working at Hillview, so it's kind of exciting. My champion started with me my first year teaching special education as my para. And of course, many times I heard, well, I'm just an aide. No, she was my para. She was my hero. She works selflessly with the kids that we had in our class, plus the kids she had in advisory, always coming up with a new idea, something fun to do, pointing out those positive things in those children's lives. My hero is Ramona Roberts.
This is weird being up here. I just wanted to share, I work at Ammon Elementary elementary as a second grade teacher, and last year my saving grace every day with the biggest smile and biggest sunshine in the whole school was Aline Kovac. She was always there, had the biggest smile on her face for all of her students, and it was impossible for her to have a bad day when everybody else may have been. And she was always a great sounding board and willing to listen to everybody else's problems, and seemed like she had none. So.
Okay, we'll see if I can do this. My kids will tell you my face leaks all the time. My champion is a first-year teacher who's joining me, Angelica. And we discussed today whether it's Angie, Angelica, or Angelica Rabago. And she is coming into this profession with such energy and enthusiasm, a profession that many people are running from, and the courage it takes to come in and take on what it is we do, and to sit through days of, we fire hosed her down with information and things, and the positivity that she brings into it, and the level she throws herself in, going, I don't know what I'm doing, but I can participate, and I can contribute. And the energy and enthusiasm that that's given to me is tremendous.
My champion is Katie Piper from Discovery. She taught my special needs child to love school. She changed the curriculum, and how hard is that to do, to change the curriculum for every child, and she did it. He still loves school. We love Discovery, but we love her.
My champion isn't just one person, it's an entire staff. I wouldn't even call it a staff, it's my entire family. Hillview is my home. It is safe there. They allow me to be who I want to be, and they push me harder to be better. You're going into almost 20 years teaching. It gets hard to want to come every day and have those struggles, but they fight for each other, they have each other's backs, and they just make every day come to school, I mean along with the kids of course, but they make it that much easier. So I'm going to give it to Dr. Sappel for our whole family.
My superhero is Cindy Kitos. I will read it to you though. When I started teaching 13 years ago, I was able to be on her team, and we're still together as a team. We've had other teammates with us that have come and gone, but this woman is amazing, and when she threatened to retire last year, I about had a nervous breakdown. She's taught my daughter, she's taught me so many things, she's been through so many struggles and trials in life and still comes to school smiling on her face every day. And she's amazing to work with as a staff member, that she's a dear friend and family, so
I'm going to pick Mr. Rockrat. Even though it was his job to help me out last year, he was my sounding board. I could call him at like 6 in the morning and go, can you come to my classroom and help me plan out this lesson? Because I have no idea what I'm doing and it's going to be a mess. And he was just there for me every time. And so.
Hi, we're speaking on behalf of all Mountain Valley teachers. We have the best school counselor. And
Yay, Mrs. Morgan.
Hi, I'm Corey Price at Cloverdale, and my champion is Jeannie Johnson, my principal. I can't sound like I'm rambling with my conscious case, but a few years back she took a chance on me when others didn't want to, and she saw something in me that I at the time wasn't able to see in myself, and so I want to say thank you to her.
This person must be super important for me to make a full try to get out of my aisle, losing my shoe and everything. But so I grew up here in Bonneville School District. I come from a little tiny area used to be called Mobile Home Estates. My parents were amazing parents. They raised 4 beautiful girls. One of them who will be a first-year teacher at Fairview, and I feel like she's my champion. She never quits. When she does something, she chalks it up to that's done. Now let's see what else I can do that's bigger and better. And so my champion is Casey Hammer, my sister, and I'm so proud of her. And I wish her luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the final rose.
The final rose. I'm Keely. I work at Discovery, teach the autism program. My final rose goes to Susan Poole. She's my champion. About 8 years ago, I moved from Illinois and to Idaho and started at Discovery. And she took me under her wing immediately, taught me everything I feel like I know about special ed. And even though she's a resource teacher, I'm a program teacher, we work back and forth, hand in hand. She supports me with everything, and we just work well together, wonderful together, and she's one of my best friends. And thank you, Susan.
Okay, thank you. One thing I want to point out that it only took a couple seconds, right? Someone's needed to be clear. But they will remember the rest of their lives. The rest of their lives. That short little time, they'll never forget what happened just now to them, right? Words are so powerful. Words are so powerful. With them, you can change a life. With them, you can spew out venom if you wanted to. Or you can change the world. Please, let the words you share to children be your superpower. Give them one of those 30-second memories that they'll carry with them the rest of their life. They will. Isn't that amazing? Okay, Jason, come on up. Jason is going to introduce our keynote speaker for today.
I'll have to come up on stage so you can actually see me. I'm